Yeah, so let's start it up. What is today? Today is the 27th, Sunday. We are here in the garage of Keith Linhares, District 1 City Council candidate, our next District 1 City Councilor.
Yes.
And this garage is, fuck it, I gotta be frank and honest with you, it's cool as fuck.
Thanks, Bill.
It is, it feels like I would only hang out here if I lived here. This is like, I would never go inside the actual house. This would just be my domain. But I noticed you got a Worcester Sucks flag hanging up.
Oh, yeah, very proudly displayed on a guitar amp over there.
Yeah, on the 412. Keith Linhares, first city council candidate to have a Marshall full stack. I think so.
Also, Keith, you get the honors of being our first two-time interviewee.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It feels good. I'm a big fan, long-time listener.
That's true.
Wow, yeah. So, Keith, first question for you. I noticed, and I got to say, frankly, I'm a little concerned. There is a pallet of bricks in front of your house. Did that get? did Antifa HQ drop those off for you for any sort of particular reason? Or?
No comment.
Yeah, this street is a bumpy ride, man. This street has has seen better days.
Yeah.
But so we had you on. When was that, Chris? When did we have him on?
Oh, geez, don't ask me to remember that.
Yeah, it was early on. When you had just announced your campaign. We'll say it was 6 months ago, but who knows?
Feels about right.
Yeah, feels like 6 years to me, but now we have you. It's mid-July. You know, the summer doldrums are upon us, but it's about to be actual campaign season pretty soon. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good overall. I'm feeling very confident. I think that I'm doing a pretty good job, I think, sticking to what I set out to do originally in terms of really wanting to run on my values, I would say. I had that slogan, progress beyond politics, that I put on the signs and put on the website. And I think I've been kind of like thinking about that a little bit and kind of what I wanted to articulate with that. And I feel like for me, I've been really wanting to run on my values and things that I think matter to me and matter to my friends, matter to my family, matter to people that I know from around the city. So that's what I want this campaign to be about, is just, what kind of a direction do we want to take this city in? Do we want to be a people that are, compassionate towards each other, supportive of one another? Do we want to make this city a better place, or do we want to keep getting stuck in these same cycles again and again and again? And this campaign and this election this year feels like a real opportunity to break those cycles. I see the amount of people that are running this year. I think we have a very good chance of forming a new majority on the city council. And from getting out there and talking with voters and bringing my message out there, seeing other people campaigning, Caden Davis is a huge inspiration, Attell, Christian King, on and on. There's so many good people running this time out that I can't help but kind of fantasize about, a year from now, what the city would be like with new leadership. And I'm very excited about that.
I'm glad to hear it. I won't let myself fantasize, because I did that last time and it hurt really bad when it didn't work out. So I'm like a jilted, I'm guarded, but I love to hear the enthusiasm. And yeah, I think especially after Mamdani in New York, I mean, it's we are in a moment right now where Democratic city politics of the neoliberal era is falling completely flat on voters. I mean, we've known that because turnout has not gotten above 20% since like 60, right? Yeah. It's really bad. But the interesting thing that I've noticed, and you don't have to take credit for this, but I have noticed that like sort of our crank contingent, after one time that you spoke at city council about how, maybe our city councilors can be a little bit more than a customer service representative. Maybe like they should be doing some higher level thinking, planning, leadership than just like catering to individual constituents' minor concerns. Now all of these guys are running on a platform of, I would be stoked to be your customer service representative.
Yeah, they really didn't like that.
that seems to have really hit them in a vulnerable spot, because, I mean, it's I don't know, it's just flatly true that they don't see the job as political. They just like trade favors with people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That's an observation I wanted to get on record. Keith Linhares, Overton window shifter, and that's the
whole point of this.
Right. What are some things that you hear the most from people when you're out knocking doors and you're at events? What do you think are top of mind concerns?
I think on the doorsteps, people are. So right now, just to be totally transparent, I'm mostly talking to folks that vote in municipal elections on a regular basis. I'm using the voter data to go after people that have voted in all 4 of the last municipal elections. There's about 2,000 doors to knock on. I'm maybe about, I'd say 65% of the way there. I'm going to keep working on that list myself, and kind of my intention is once it gets to be true campaign season, I guess September, October, first week in November, really start leveraging the volunteers to get out there more on a regular basis. So I'll probably make multiple plugs while we're talking for help with volunteers.
That's what we're here for.
keep saying that again and again. But the things that I keep hearing about the most, it's really is like a wide spectrum of things. I think a lot of folks, they do bring up the road work issues. Mm-hmm. They bring up, what they're seeing on their own streets, quality of life issues. I'm probably predominantly, I would say, in District 1 talking to homeowners. So I think the issues that they talk about is a little bit different than the people I'm talking about in other areas. I did go through, Lincoln Village, and I knocked on doors there. And there it's much less about, the kinds of things with road work and street level things, and more about things like police responses. I usually open with talking with people when I'm talking with people on the doors about housing and affordability being the top issue in Worcester. Not only is it an issue in our city, it's a statewide issue, it's a national issue as well. I think we all see kind of the whether or not you're somebody who struggles with housing or affordability yourself, you're seeing the downstream effects of it. Most people, I think, are feeling a pinch of one kind of another. And even if you're somebody who lives in a house, you live a comfortable, cushy life, you see your fellow human beings out on the streets, living, sleeping, panhandling, and so on. And people have a reaction to that. So I'm hearing a lot about that. I think most people have a feeling that they'd like to be, most people, I would say, not all, but most people, I think, have a feeling that we could be doing more. And I think what I try and approach people with is that these problems are difficult. Yes, they are going to involve a lot of coalition building in order to solve. But at the city level, we can at least start making decisions that orient us in a more positive direction. And I think it's about sort of like receptivity to new ideas, willingness to challenge the status quo. The thing that I think really resonates with people that we see again and again and again is this trickle-down economics approach that the city leaders seem to favor. We saw it with the tax rebate for, I don't know what to call it exactly, but tax rebate for the landlords that is intended to help renters, which is just a backwards way of doing things that doesn't work for people. And we need to be more direct in who are we serving and who are we helping.
Well, yeah, but have you considered that it's another tool in the toolbox? I love it when they do something that's just transparently a wealth transfer, and they're like, listen, it's not a panacea, but it's another tool in the toolbox. I ever catch you saying that? Just kidding. You can say whatever you want. Chris, I'm soaking up all the question taking here. You got any questions?
Yeah, actually. So I was driving over here, doing the preparation that I probably should have done prior to that, which is to say that I did no preparation. But I was remembering, Keith, that you have thrown a couple things on the council agenda via citizen petition. The one that comes to mind, it was sort of an item on public works and having like a database or a spreadsheet of public works activities and what's getting done and when it starts and when it ends and what's coming next and that kind of thing. But yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about kind of the things you've already been putting in front of council.
Yeah, I've opened up, I would guess somewhere between maybe 8 to 15 petitions since I started campaigning, just based on stuff that I've been hearing from residents, ideas that I've seen in other cities, things that I think could be effective here. So there was the DPW one to try and bring some transparency and accountability there. It was sort of intended to be a little bit of a call to action to invest more in the 311 app and do a better job of making information clearer to people, because like we were talking about earlier, the number one thing that, sort of the crank contingency talks about is the potholes and the road work. And it seems to be just, a guy screaming at potholes and, expecting that that's going to fix things. My approach that I've been advocating for is just to take a little bit more of a holistic, process-oriented approach there. So that's what that was intended to do. I did end up talking to the John Westerling, the head of the DPW, after that. I shared the idea with him, got his feedback. He seemed to understand, what I was going for. He kind of compared it to back in the old days, elevators would run and they wouldn't have that little like indicator telling you what floor the elevator was on. And basically this is an intention of just providing people more insight. But aside from that, I did put in a host of petitions that were related to renter protections. I put in, I think it was 5 different petitions based on things that I'd seen in other parts of Massachusetts. So things like so in Massachusetts, I think it's kind of tricky because you can't outright do things like rent controls. But for me, I put that in, and my understanding after the fact was that Attell had already been working on a lot of those in a subcommittee. And I think just based on the political situation in Worcester right now with the people that we have in charge, a lot of those, maybe aren't necessarily going to be actionable this year. But I couldn't just, keep hearing, all this stuff about, what's going on with tenants and try and do something to at least put in petitions to try and make things a little bit better, to make some kind of an effort.
I think that, first of all, Attell is always working on everything constantly. I was just talking to her the other day. The state of the city address the city manager gave is so funny when you think about it in the context of he had to list some achievements and accomplishments, and like every single one, like you could just tick off a box, just like Attell idea, Attell idea, Attell idea, Attell idea, and then he would be like, but we have to come together, right? when everyone in his city hall and the city council is like set on just being reactionary weirdos to everything that Patel puts on the table. Anyway, the petitions on housing, you brought up a good point that Massachusetts is a rigged game for landlords in a lot of ways. And I think that that's a quiet part that needs to be said louder. But it's also like incredibly hard to talk about housing policy to normal people and not lose them immediately. It's something that I talk to other journalists and people about all the time. It's like, this is like, just the language of it is like so obscuring. Have you any tips or tricks for how to talk about housing to people that seems like you've picked up along the way?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm necessarily the most effective at it, but I think for me, the thing that kind of resonates with people on the doorsteps, at least, is kind of coming back to that values way of thinking about things. It's a lot of people are receptive, like it or not, when you blame, developers for the tactics that they use in order to, in a way, almost take advantage of Worcester, take advantage of some of the situations that we allow in this city. So people kind of do buy into that, a little bit of like almost like an us versus them kind of mentality, which I'm a little bit careful about how I want to stoke that with people. I don't want to try and, necessarily make people angry, but I think you can kind of make people fired up when you talk about it in terms of, these developers are coming in here, they're getting lots of tax breaks, they're getting lots of tax benefits, they're taking advantage of some of the, the variances that they can apply for, and kind of rest assured that they will likely receive those approvals to move ahead with certain things like subdivisions, despite neighbors' wishes at times. And I think you can kind of build on that in terms of who do you want to build up, and who do you want to protect, who do you want to make sure is well cared for. Is it the regular working residents in the city who are just doing their best in order to have a place to live, or do you want to favor these developers who have lots of resources, have lots of money? I think one of the things I've been sort of like reflecting on as I've been campaigning is like thinking back to the Occupy Wall Street movement, and just kind of thinking about how a lot of that stuff that was spoken about then is just still so relevant today. And we're really like it feels like we're in Worcester, like at the face of, I guess, the schism that kind of exists in our society right now, where there is this sort of, as you said earlier, this neoliberal way of thinking that's embodied by both of the major parties in this country. This, I'll say trickle-down economics again. I'll call it corporate first, whatever you want to call it. But it's this very business-centered approach to how we manage our economy, and it leaves a lot of people hurting. It's not very protective of many of our citizens. So I think now is the time. I think Mamdani's proving it, that we need to be more demanding of what we want the world to look like, what we want this country to look like. And I think, a lot of what we're seeing here is almost like reaction to the federal government. And I think there are a lot of us that just because Trump's in charge of the federal government, yeah, it's worse, but there was a lot of bad stuff that was happening before that we still need correctives for. And we need to look beyond just getting Trump out of office, getting the Republicans out of power. We need to take a look at people who claim to be allies and what are their values, what are they preaching, and make sure that we're kind of lining up in a good way for regular people.
Yeah, if that binary was the solution to the problem, we in Massachusetts with a Democratic supermajority we would have it made in the shade, and yet we do not. So yeah, I think that's a point well made. I talked to a guy at my job a couple weeks ago. I was out my old new job was organizing. I just started a different position there, but I got this list of guys who work for the Mass Department of Public Transportation who needed to sign union cards. They had just come into the job. And so I was going and meeting these people, oftentimes literally like on the side of the road, because they're highway workers, right? Like they're out doing their highway work stuff. So I go out to meet this guy up in Amesbury, literally on the side of the highway. He's out doing a mowing job. And so I'm talking to him, and definitely pretty much told me he was a Trump voter, and then also told me that he's really curious and excited about, quote, that guy down in New York City. I'm guessing he wasn't talking about Andrew Cuomo. And I asked him why. I was curious. And he basically said, I think things need to change. And when he says he's going to change stuff, I believe him. I know, Bill, I was saying this to you off the record at another point, but I feel like we're in an interesting time where voters are actually pretty malleable in that way, or pretty open to lots of different things. What I hear most as a general sentiment from like normal people, voters, is I don't like what this is. I would like to vote for not this.
Whatever this is, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Like, I mean, I think, both of my parents are Trump voters, and I think the energy that they have is not necessarily, I love the Republican values. It really is more like a fuck the system kind of value. And I think it's like that needs to be tapped into a little bit, but it needs to be tapped into for good reasons and helping each other and making this world a better place, not sort of dividing people further and perpetuating this every man for himself mentality that this whole country is based on, I guess. Yeah.
Turns out only a few men benefit from that when every man is for themselves. I think that I was just reading an article. It's the feature story in the newest Harper's about sort of like the Democrats just being unable to meet the current moment. And it's not a new observation, but it was put really well. And it's like the political binary and the sort of like tribalism of the political parties is like totally for elitists and nerds, and that most people's politics is completely asymmetrical and is all over the place, and that's not like a dig or anything. It's just like no one has given any normal person any reason in this country to participate in like an actual political movement, because those are labor movements usually, and we don't want people joining those, not here in America. So I think that when people just hear like that you are opposed to whatever this is, but also that you're like, I want to actually do something. We're not doing anything, and I want to actually do something. That's exactly what Trump did. And unfortunately, it was just, turn the Department of Homeland Security into what it always was destined to be. But the same thing works the other way around. It's like literally, I think whoever puts like a public housing like bill on or as a proposal like wins the next presidential election, right? Like a Build Back Better, but for actually just constructing new housing that undercuts the market. I think that guy wins. Of course, that guy probably won't get nominated by either party. But long way of saying, how have your conversations been going with like conservative people?
I think overall, I've actually tended to talk to, I don't sort of like exclude anyone based on party. I'm just saying, if you voted, I'll talk to you. And so I'm knocking on a fair number of Republican doors. As you might expect, the amount of registered Republicans in Worcester is not extremely high. It's maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 20. All independents. Yeah, it's mostly independents. But generally, I do feel like the conversations are going pretty well overall. I mean, there's definitely a small contingency of folks that will draw basically red lines around anything social justice, I guess you could call it, related. So they'll ask me straight up, what do you think about trans college athletes? Or they'll ask me... big local issue here in
exactly.
Worcester.
Huge local issue.
And I've had instances of, being able to, tell them exactly how I feel. I think I don't... One thing I really never try and do is like shy away from my core beliefs on things. And that's something that I will not, bend on. So I'm very firm with people about how I feel about it. I tell them that's how I feel. Tell me how you feel. And I'll sit there and listen, even if it's, ugly stuff that comes out of their mouths. And I try and redirect the conversation as often as I can to things that actually matter locally in terms of, housing and affordability, things with the DPW and so on. But, sometimes those conversations go sideways and it ends with a, angry person on the other side of it. But that's natural.
That's
but
be fun.
There are times too where, we're able to redirect the conversation in a positive way. So there are people that have, told me that they voted for Trump, but when I bring up housing and affordability and how we should be doing more to establish, better, collective housing solutions in Worcester, they'll say that they're for that, which is
Right,
totally,
yeah.
as you were saying earlier, people's beliefs are so kind of malleable and inconsistent, I would say. People have these big umbrellas that they think they're sitting under, but they catch rain from all over the place, I guess you could say. But, generally, I think people want to see more transparency and accountability. That's something that transcends both parties. I think, in a way, I can sort of like play off the same skepticism that I have about the Worcester Chamber of Commerce, that I have about people like, Mayor Petty and the Democratic City Committee and so on. Some of the questions that I have about them, I think some of the conservative folks have similar questions as well about where they sit on certain things.
Many good questions. The quick aside here, but there's a movie. It was kind of an indie movie called How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and it's based on. It's a cool adaptation. It's like a fictional adaptation of a nonfiction book by Andreas Malm about like the need for more aggressive climate policy. But what they do that I think is so interesting is that it's like 4 blue hairs and then like a conservative veteran that are in the like domestic terrorist squad that are going to blow up this like Exxon pipeline. And the veteran is useful in all the ways that a veteran would be for like a tactical operation like that. And he got pulled into the issue by eminent domain. They were trying to take like his trailer away from him, like after he had spent like 4 years of his life in Afghanistan. And he's like, I'm not going to deal with this. I was like, you don't see that a lot in media about like the sort of common ties that like normal conservative people and leftist people can find on stuff, but I think that's really that's a good door to be knocking down, in my opinion.
Yeah. Watch that movie if you haven't. Real fun thing to Google, how to blow up a pipeline. So yeah, jump right on that, and your FBI agent will definitely wake up from their slumber. But yeah, it's a great movie, and I thought it was very interesting. I also noticed that particular dynamic of the film, and I thought it was really interesting because I have some acquaintances, let's say, who are involved in some of the ongoing direct action against pipelines in various different places. One of the big ones is the Appalachian Valley pipeline down in, well, it's a few places, but West Virginia is kind of where the action has been at mostly, and it's very interesting because there are people who are involved in that movement for a number of reasons, but a lot of the locals became involved because of eminent domain. They are usually pretty agnostic about a pipeline. I shouldn't say usually, but that is one way that people are. But also, this corporation is coming into their place in the middle of nowhere where they didn't think anyone would bother them, and literally stealing people's land. They're taking their land away from them against their will to build this pipeline, and that is what has activated a lot of local people on the ground there. Is like, how the fuck does this company just get to come in and like take land that's been in my family for generations?
Yeah, that would be crazy if like financial capital formed like sort of like an investment fund and like came into a place and seized a lot of the land for their own gain and used it in ways that didn't make it any better for the people that lived there.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Commerce Building? My God, I got to talk about this. I know we've been housing. I want to talk about some other things. But my fucking God, you could not find a better example of like our relationship with developers ruining the city like almost on purpose. They bought the building for $14 million in 2020, trying to cash in on the hype. And their whole business model on their website is like, we go to emerging markets, which is the same thing as city being on the map. And the tax breaks are built into their return on investment. They have this crazy language for like Yeah, the municipality will basically give you everything they possibly can. So yeah, they got everything they possibly could get. It's like $50 million in like tax deals from the city and the state, and then like the market's changed, and they just fucking dropped the building, let pipes burst, let the electrical get fucked, and now it's like they're selling it for $3 million. It's going to have to be demoed. It's like that, they have objectively made downtown worse. What do you do about a company like that? What do you do about these developers? You know, I'm curious if there's any ideas on that sort of front that we haven't talked about yet that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I'm talking about with voters on the doors is a little bit more broad strokes, just in terms of holding them accountable, making sure that when we're offering tax breaks, or if we're offering tax breaks, that there are really kind of hard stops and hard deadlines, that we negotiate better contracts. I think the thing that I've been speaking about with people is that the mentality that our city seems to have is that, you know, Worcester is in need of all the help it can get from outsiders, that we need to have all these folks from out of town, all these big developers, these big corporations making our lives better. And I think one of the things that's been resonating a lot with me lately, that I was thinking a lot about before I started campaigning, that I kind of lost sight of at the beginning, was this idea. I think, you know, I'd messaged you, Chris, earlier, I think, about the idea of sort of like this sewer socialism concept, municipalism, and just kind of seeing, like, as a community, what are ways that we can invest in ourselves and build ourselves up. To me, I feel like we have all the right ingredients in Worcester to help each other and support each other and make this city something that we can all be proud of. I mean, we have people here from so many different walks of life, so many different backgrounds, from all over the world, who have been in, you know, all different kinds of situations. And I think to have this mentality in the first place, that we need outside help to save us from something, is ludicrous. We don't have to have these big developers coming in and taking advantage of us in order to build a successful city. We just need to look around and figure out how to better organize ourselves to build ourselves up. So I think when it comes to these outside developers, we need to be a lot more skeptical than we are now. We shouldn't be as, I think, accommodating as many of the folks in charge now are with them, thinking that they're going to offer some kind of a magic bullet or a panacea, because oftentimes they're not. We've been burned so many times by these outside developers. You know, look around Polar Park, look downtown. There's so many instances of this, that it's quite clear to me that we need to be making changes, not just in terms of any specific buildings, but in terms of our approach overall.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like it's like, you know, you don't want to get conspiratorial about it, but like, what if there was like a revolving door between City Hall and the developers that do business in the city?
Where'd Michael Bryan go to work after he was?
Where did Michael Bryan go to work?
I think it's Win Management.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, there's a thing, if you can figure out how to message it, we'll get the cranks fucking worked up, right? I mean, Dennis Dowdle, best example.
Yes.
The guy who was just like, yeah, never mind. With like our whole pro forma on Polar Park is based on him building 5 things, and he's like, yeah, maybe. And I went back and I dug it up in the fine print of like the 2018 council agenda, and the contract that Ed Augustus signed with that fucking guy was basically the legal way of saying, haha, if he wants to, if he doesn't, no worries, right? It is such a bad contract. And I agree with you that like we need a mentality that like what we have is worth something, and the people that want to do business here, like we expect something in return.
Yes.
We don't need to be a, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We don't need to be a pick-me-ass city. And
yes,
we really
exactly.
have been, since I've lived here. And nothing, including the market conditions, seems to have changed that, and I don't really understand why. As it happens, I have a perfect literal sewer socialism short story from yesterday. I got up. I've been waking up at 8 o'clock. I have no idea why. I'm not very happy about waking up on a Saturday at that early, but I decided to do something about it and go over to Wooden Bakery and get some Wooden Bakery stuff.
So good.
Well, wouldn't you know it, I got over to Maine and Cambridge, and the entire road is blocked off. And then I tried to do a detour around, and it was blocked off at Freeland. It took me like a half an hour to get there. I had to do some real side street chicanery. Turns out the reason why that is there was a partial sewer collapse that they're working all weekend to repair. And there are some things, especially in a city that is growing pretty substantially in population and is kind of bursting at the seams in that way of, could we just like not have our sewer lines collapse? Could we not have water pipes in some areas that are still made out of water, made out of wood? Just some things we could work on.
That's something that has been resonating with voters is kind of back to that concept of investing in ourselves. The DPW is so understaffed. I think I heard a couple months ago, like 90 people short, and people like the idea when you say like these should be good jobs for the people of Worcester. We should be able to help ourselves. We should be able to take care of ourselves. That resonates with people. And I mean, you can label it as, whatever ism you want, but the idea that a municipality should have some level of authority over itself and some ability to satisfy its own needs is so crucial right now when you look at what the federal government's doing, especially lately. But, go back like decades. It's just like this ping pong back and forth of good things, bad things, mixed bags. And the only way that we're ever going to get any consistency is if we sort of like embrace solutions at the local level.
Yeah, I think that Chris brought that up in a recent episode. I think it's on the record. It might have been when we were just chatting. But the idea of the DPW being like underfunded or perhaps maybe even defunded is like one that I hadn't really like thought about at all, and then it like clicked, like, what's the positive messaging, like mirror image of defund the police? It's fund the DPW, baby.
Yeah.
Like just fund the DPW, and where's the money coming from? Well, we got like a little bit of excess. Like what is the DPW version of ShotSpotter? Right? What is the DPW's cutting edge technology that streamlines and makes more efficient the government process? Because I am a big fan of the government process making it easier to walk and drive around the city and make the parks nicer. I'm not the biggest fan of the the government process of maintaining a nice and a bad part of the city via containment zone. Community policing, that's the craziest thing that we have just swallowed as like a dumb country. Community policing is not a nice thing. That is a legitimate like colonial strategy that was developed in like Algiers. It's like why? Like they just say it and we're like, oh, that sounds nice. But anyway. Yeah, I just think that there's something there to, can we please adequately fund the DPW? And, where's the money going to come from? Well, don't worry about that.
I've been trying to draw that parallel with folks lately. I mean, also in terms of sort of like the transparency and accountability, you people say that they want, better insights into their potholes and road work. I think we need the same level of scrutiny on the police department as well, because they're the highest item in the city services budget that the city council has control over. Obviously, schools is the biggest chunk of the budget, but that's under purview of the school committee. So the same amount of transparency oversight that we expect from the DPW, we should expect that from the police department as well. If we want the roads to be better, we need to invest in the right things for the DPW, make sure that they have what they need in order to be successful. If we want good outcomes from a public health and a public safety perspective, is it investing in the tools like ShotSpotter and all these other things that the Worcester Police Department thinks that they need in order to be successful? Or is it more investment in the quality of life team or some other group? I was reading a little bit about in the past, Worcester had this concept of police aides that sort of like went beyond
in the 70s.
Back in the 70s, yeah. So I think that that's something. When I met with the chief last week, that was something I brought up to him, was just non-criminal intervention in the things that we see around the city. You don't need a guy with a gun when somebody's sleeping on the streets necessarily to respond to that. You don't need a guy with a gun for a lot of the things that you see in this city. Most of the things that people call the police about are non-violent things. They're issues of things like noise complaints or other issues that don't require necessarily a police response. So I think I don't know whether it's a public education issue and something that's going to take a generation to change people's expectations about, or if there's a willingness to start making changes in the city. And one of my hopes was that the DOJ, some good that could come out of it was that there would be more public receptivity towards changing how we do policing in this city and how we manage our public health. So that's something I'm going to keep banging the drum on. And that was one of my goals with the campaign, was like not to let people forget about the DOJ report.
Right.
To keep banging that drum and keep making people aware about what kinds of positive changes we could see in this city to make this a better place, and what we can learn from other places that have made good changes too.
Yeah. Well, let me know when you found one. No, but I think that this. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like, how many Worcester cops are there that would make good social workers, and would probably change the uniform if the pay was commensurate, right? If they could work in the same community, do the same thing, but they don't have to walk around with the "I fucking hate you" outfit on all the time. Like, how many people would actually make that change? It's not like police departments are full of bad people. Police departments are full of just regular people with asymmetrical politics who learn by being cops to have this like grievance-based outlook on the world.
Yeah, I think I don't have to tell anybody. I talk plenty of shit about the cops, but I always say to people, I think people know, are probably familiar with the concept of ACAB, all cops are bastards. I'm not going to ask certainly you, Keith, or anyone to editorialize or comment on that. What I will say is I've had people have follow-up questions about that concept, and what I say to people is that the institution of policing will eventually turn everyone into a bastard. Not every person who is a police officer is a bastard, but within the confines of that uniform, things change, and it does things to people. I've seen it happen. I have cops in my family and stuff. But to what you're talking about, like, I will say, I have known and do know Worcester cops that are genuinely really nice, thoughtful, caring people. And I will bet you that if you gave them the chance to make what they make and actually just be a community liaison and help people in that way, there are some that would gladly jump at that opportunity. I don't think anyone, including the police, actually really enjoy, pushing unhoused people around all day. There are definitely some that do, but I don't think most of them, that's what they got into the job to be doing every day.
And you think about the kind of like the emotional whiplash that must instill in the police officers, having to go one moment from being in a school with vulnerable kids that you're trying to reach to then having to go to the site of a violent crime or a violent accident or something like that, and then having to snap back and go walk around the neighborhood chatting with people. That must create a toll on people. I know that, like the chief is invested in mental health, but I think that having a little bit more specialization and more, niches within the police department or outside of the police department to tackle some of these issues a little bit differently would be a positive step that we could take here in Worcester.
Yeah, well, there's an elephant in the room. The thing you brought up earlier, the police aides, was like, and I read a little bit of a Telegram coverage from the time because I was thinking about doing a story on that, still am. And they got like a little bit of like national shine off of that. It was like a good program that worked. Guess what happened? Collective bargaining with the police unions killed the program. Tale as old as time. We're still dealing with that, with the charges pressed against a city councilor. Where did those come from? I wonder. So, I don't know. But I remember one time when you were at city council and you were talking about policing in a way that was frankly liberatory to hear from somebody running for office in Worcester. But Brendan on the stream was like, "Oh my God, Keith, shut up. Like, I don't care how good these ideas are. I want you to get elected." And there is this sense that like talking frankly about the issues of policing is a surefire way to get not elected. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there's a quiet part needs saying loud, and people will respect the honesty of that. So I'm not telling you not to talk about police. I am asking you how that meeting with the chief went, because I mean there can't be a guy who hates the police unions more than that chief, right? Not that he would say that to you ever, but
yeah, I mean overall the meeting was pretty good. It was wide ranging. I hit on I think a lot of the talking points that I'd made before. So things like making sure that the city's focused on the right issues. I think there's agreement. There was agreement between he and I that a lot of the problems that they're asked to solve probably do go outside their purview in a lot of ways. So I don't know that he necessarily endorsed many of my ideas in terms of certain things, but in terms of speaking about these things in broad strokes, like investment in things like the quality of life team, or this concept of which we didn't specifically talk about the police aides in the 70s, but basically by talking about the quality of life team in that way, I was trying to frame it as what the same work that the police aides would have done back in the 70s or similar work. I think we both agreed that police are asked to do way too much that goes beyond the duties of normal policing. I made my case for the Civilian Review Board and about why I think it's important. I think that there's this perception that they have a little bit of a mixed track record of success. I think a lot of times the authority that they're given is generally kind of restrained within local government. They maybe won't have subpoena power, or they'll have a very limited purview. But I really think that a Civilian Review Board would be essential for rebuilding trust in terms of giving people that feeling that they are part of the process, that they have some participation in what the police in this community do. The thing that I kept talking about is that what I think we need is to have a feeling, whatever it is, that the police and the community are one and the same. And right now, a lot of the tension comes from the fact that we feel a little bit of an us versus them kind of a thing, where you do see something like Eureka Street, and the question is, whose side are they on? Are they on the side of the residents, or are they on the side of a tyrannical government that, to many of us, not just the people who are being personally affected and personally oppressed by the federal government, but people who are watching it, people who pay attention to politics, we have this feeling that the federal government is not on our side right now. Some of us have a feeling that for a long time, maybe they haven't been on our side. And to have this feeling that the Worcester Police Department is going to take the side of these people, these masked men coming into the city over the regular residents is disconcerting. I told the chief straight up that, something like this is very likely to happen again. People are probably more eager than they've been certainly in any time in my life. The only time I can think of historically that jumps off my head is 1968, people protesting, practicing civil disobedience. People are more keen than ever to do these things. So the idea that, that was just a one-time thing and now it's over, that's ludicrous. As the federal government digs in further, we're going to see stuff like this happen more and more. And I just hope that they have consideration for, what do they want it to look like next time? Do they want to see residents and police continuing to clash, or do they want us working together on the same side towards some kind of a positive outcome?
Yeah, I think it'd be great if they did that, but it's job security.
Yeah, exactly.
Residents clashing with you is job security, brother.
Right.
I think that I like the way that you message about the police. I have become very, very, very black-pilled to the point where I can only just make jokes about it at this point. But, you pull enough clips from body camera footage of ICE agents and Worcester police officers dapping each other up and shooting the shit, then you kind of, I don't know.
Oh, I had one more comment, too, to respond to what you were saying earlier about, this being an issue that could be, I'm aware that, this is definitely a third rail issue that elicits a lot of strong feeling from people. But I think the thing that's been most kind of heartening to me is that I have been saying this stuff and I've received so little pushback from regular residents. Nobody that I talk to about this or who asks me any questions, that's so few and far between is somebody like, oh, you've gone too far. You've said something that doesn't make sense. You've said something that I can't support.
Right.
I went on the Hank Stoles show and talked about policing. I mean, maybe not as explicitly as I would here, but I did make my feelings known, and I didn't get any pushback at all. So, I think I'm just going to keep going and keep the same message going, and until somebody tells me that I've gone too far, I guess that's when I'll stop. But I don't think with the situation that we're in, and basically the way that I'm talking about this, I don't really think there is going too far, because everything that I'm talking about is kind of addressing these societal problems, right, and just looking at it with clear eyes, getting real about what are the actual issues, what are the solutions that we need in order to achieve them. It's not all this sophisticated police technology. It's not guys with guns. It's recognizing our real problems and deploying the right resources to meet them.
Yeah, I think that the important thing with that approach, taking it as far as you can, staying true to your feelings about the police, is even a loss is valuable in that way. Yes. To prove that it's not actually a third rail, like a strong loss while never waffling on police is actually almost more valuable than a win, having said, I don't know, whatever the buzzwords you have to say in order to show your fealty to the police unions. I don't know. Ask Kate Toomey. She knows how to talk that language really well. That's why she gets 10,000 votes a year. But somebody who gets 10,000 votes and doesn't do that at all, I mean, that shatters the entire illusion. And I think people have. I mean, we're on more than a decade since Ferguson, right? People, I don't know. It's not such a bold idea anymore. I think people are more receptive to it.
Yeah, in a way, it's the hard work was done 5 years ago with the defund the police movement and kind of broadening the public conversation. And it's now we can revisit some of those concepts, some of the good ideas that were raised then with clear eyes. I think at that time, some of the language turned people off. The right and those that are sort of on the side of the police unions, they were able to spin it back and make everybody who supported those things look like outside of the mainstream. But from what I'm finding around here, just with talking with people about the police, about the DOJ report, about Eureka Street, I think there are probably more people on the side of making changes and looking at things in a new way than most people would realize. I like I said earlier, I don't often get told by people that what I'm saying is out of the realm of normalcy, and so I'm going to keep talking about these things.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think also I think it's been a lot of steps to get where we are. Unfortunately, mostly really horrific ones, but I think people seeing federal agents obscuring their faces, not providing identification, and just going and kidnapping people, seemingly pretty indiscriminately at times off the street, and then getting funded at 2,000% their current funding level so that they can keep doing it and do it more, has maybe underlined some issues with that approach that I think a lot of people who are not in the quote unquote containment zone or in highly policed areas had maybe not experienced or seen in the way that they've seen it now.
Yeah.
Keith, before we have to go, I have two questions I wanted to ask you. These are very, very big, important issues that are going to matter to a lot of people besides just me. And I'm going to use them as a way to tie in a little bit of local news that I've been wanting to talk about. So the first thing is, and this is extremely serious stuff. I cannot overstate that enough.
Pay attention. Are you listening?
He's got his notepad out.
You have a notepad out? You're taking notes? Okay, great. Yep. Okay.
All right. So first, Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne just died. And Worcester did, via Mass Live and the Telegram, Worcester did, I think, one of the most embarrassing things that we do here, and wrote articles about both of them, and like the time in 1983 when Hulk Hogan came to Worcester, or like 7 times Ozzy Osbourne was in Worcester 40 years ago. And I think that is so fucking embarrassing. So my question is, when you are a city councilor, will you outlaw that behavior? Will you throw journalists in jail for doing it?
Yes.
We can see what the ordinances are possible. What kind of ordinances are possible in regards to that? I too share your frustration with articles like that. The one time Ozzy stopped at Union Station on his way to Boston.
Yeah. it's just so sad and pathetic.
Lock him up.
It is that pick me ass city energy. All right, great answer.
Lock 'em up.
You still got my vote. Now, this is a big one. Folks may know that there is a water monitor lizard on the loose.
Fuck yeah.
Escaped from a domicile in Webster. Apparently headed south because I think the last sighting was in Connecticut,
Thompson,
think.
yeah.
Thompson, Connecticut. Yeah. It's a pretty good little trek.
I'm a lizard head. I've been following this one.
Yeah. Shit, what's his name? Goose.
His name is the lizard's name is Goose. I mean, are you okay? That reminds me. I have one question after you, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
This got me thinking. So this lizard was illegally owned, and it got me thinking about weird animals and how we should have more of them. I really want a pet skunk. There are places where you can do this. I have an acquaintance who I will not name who has a pet skunk in a place where they are not supposed to have one. So, but yeah, pet skunks, water monitor lizards. What are you doing to get us some weirder pets?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I've had interested in some big cats myself. I'm a cat lover. Ooh. So if I could get a little, maybe a jaguar or a tiger.
Dude, imagine you just had a tiger roaming around this garage.
That would be
licking
really
his paws
amazing.
And stuff. Playing with a basketball.
Throwing out T-bones.
I was. I'll wrap up after this. And by the way, I'm kidding. We probably shouldn't have more exotic animals as pets. Just JK. Just for funsies, I was doing in the next few weeks. Hopefully, I'll have some recordings to share from when I went to the Bluegrass Festival last weekend. But I was doing these interviews with some of the old heads there, and I found some things out that I never knew. And I've been going, and I've known these people for a long time. One was that at the old site where it used to be before they relocated it in the aughts, apparently there was a tiger in a cage with a moat around it that was also just on the property. It wasn't the Bluegrass Festival people, but yeah, they had a tiger, I guess. So.
Dude, containing a tiger with a moat is so smart.
Yeah.
Cat's not going to get wet.
Cats hate water. That's fact.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, more exotic animals. Why not? We should be testing for new ones. We should be trying to make new animals here. But concerning Keith, this is very important how you answer this, and I would love for you to bring this question to Chief Saucier actually the next time that you talk to him. Do you think the police should be shooting at half-dead geese with guns to kill them?
I'm going to go no on that one, a firm no.
Did you guys see this story I'm talking about?
No.
Shrewsbury police, there was no animal control on because it's a Sunday. So a cop has to deal with a goose that got hit by a car and is like half dead. He shoots it twice with a long gun. It doesn't work, so he steps on its neck. and a resident is filming this the entire time. And in a statement after the fact, I open the newsletter that I'm going to put out after we're done recording with this, because it's just like, man, you can't invent better cop language than this. The police chief called it an unsuccessful cervical dislocation attempt, stepping on the goose's neck to kill it. Oh, man. It's the Boston 25 is the only people that have the video right now. I need this video. It is too powerful. They said they redacted the important bits because it's too graphic. I know Boston 25. They would run graphic shit. It's because it's embarrassing for the police. So if you know anybody who has this video, I need it. Drop it. Bill Shaner at proton.me. Make an alias. Make a fake email account. Send it to me. I will never say where I got it. I need this video. Okay, that's all I had. Keith, how can people help your campaign and help you ride a great wave to victory?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that I need right now are volunteers and donations. If you go to linharesforworcester.com, there's a volunteer engagement form that folks can complete. And there's also a link to my Act Blue page where you can make a donation. The donations are going to be used for things like mailers, yard signs, get out the vote efforts. So I'm trying to be very frugal with all of the donations that I'm getting. I'm not wasting anything at this moment. I haven't even got official mailers yet. I'm still printing out, pages at home that I'm handing out to people. I've made a few business cards to hand to people, but volunteers, donations, those will be extremely helpful. Once it gets to September, it's going to be a very hectic time, and we're going to need everything that we can get to actually win this thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Keith, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you if you're coming to it, but we have an election themed event on Thursday. It is very casual, and the idea is exactly what Keith was just talking about. You can come down not knowing anything about municipal politics. You will leave knowing how to get involved, who to talk to, get your email on the right email addresses, meet the people you need to meet to join the pool of volunteers that we desperately need for progressive victories in this city. The Chamber of Commerce doesn't have the people power that we have. We just need to make sure that we leave all of that on the table. Mamdani won in New York because he had 50,000 volunteers campaigning for him. So we need that. And sign up for Keith's campaign. Sign up for all the campaigns. You can volunteer for more than one campaign. They won't get shitty about that, probably. unless it's for Candy Merrill Crossing's campaign, and then go fuck yourself. But no, that's great, Keith. We'll link to the website and the Act Blue and all that. It's been a pleasure having you on for a little campaign update.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keith. Bill, I know you have to run in a minute to go to a pickle festival of some kind.
Yes.
I have a little closeout if you'd like me to do that.
Sure.
And that is just to say, unless anyone has anything else, that I've already picked our outro music for today. Bill doesn't know that yet, but now he does.
I know it.
We're going to send us out with the best band that I saw at Grey Fox last weekend, which is a Zydeco band from Montreal called Les Winston Band. And Les Winston Band has a song called Lâche la patate. I heard this, and I know patate is potato in French, and so I immediately became interested and wanted to know more about what this song was, and I looked it up, and it's actually it's an old Zydeco standard. A lot of people have done it, but Lâche la patate. Don't at me if you are some French-speaking fucking nerd and this isn't exactly right. Lâche la patate essentially means don't drop the potato. But it is a saying in Quebec amongst my people that sort of means what it actually is an expression of is like hang in there, keep it up, stay strong, hang in there, don't drop the potato. So with that, unless anyone's got anything else, hang in there, everybody. Lâche la patate.
Lâche la patate. Beautiful. That sounds like something you'd say like right before you slap someone. Lâche la patate.
You could.
Good friend of mine got slapped by a Frenchman once, but that's a story for another time. All right, Keith. Yes, good podcast. We did it. Success.
Changer mon curriculum contre le salaire minimum pour une visqueuse routine de sauce de frites et de poutine. Oh, c'est ton smat. Lâche la patate. Fais ton smat. Des fois je me